Okay, so there we got that. Let's share to Discord real quick. Okay, there's that. Now to story. There we go. Okay. Put these. You and 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 let's see. Who else? And you and you and you. Nope. There we go. That'll work. Welcome in, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Okay, and we are going to add this. We are going to add okay. Hey Joe, hey PJ. Welcome in, guys. We will be having Sally Busby from Indiana join us. She is running for the Indiana House of Representatives, District 78. Here we go. But yeah, her primary is on May 5th. Waiting for someone, but I feel that. I feel that. You bought 2 nightstands at the Meadowlands flea market for $90? Bet. Nice. So who are you waiting for, Joe? There's something on my screen. Hi, Yuav. Somebody said something. I don't know who said what, but you were filtered. And I'm throwing some likes my way while I wait for Sally to join us. Welcome in, everyone. Well then, Joe, okay, here's the thing. If a girl is giving you the runaround like that, hey, honey, I would understand that you're probably not the only one. I would go for something concrete. Really brings the room together. No, that's awesome. That is awesome, PJ. Okay. There we go. Ghoster. No, I wouldn't say ghoster, but I would definitely say something along the lines of, hey, listen, I feel like I'm getting the runaround from you. That's not what I'm looking for. If this is not what you want, cool. I'm okay with that. I'm going to move on. Hi, Sally. Can we hear you?
Yes, I think,
Yes, we can hear you.
yeah.
But can we see you? Hey, we can see you.
Now you can see.
Welcome in.
Thanks so much. I'm thrilled to be here. I did not know until I was waiting that you were an environmentalist, and I just got back from an Earth Day celebration at Wesselman Park. So lots of people out there.
Yes, I am a big environmentalist. You can ask most of my mods and just about anybody who comes in here on a regular basis the things that I talk about, such as heat pollution. Why? Because it's a silent killer that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah.
Because heat pollution is the reason why Arizona will be in the 140s this year, and we in Indiana will be hitting 100 degrees this summer. It is already in the 80s, and we are mid-April. What happened to my 6 weeks of spring? What happened to my high 60s, low 70s, raining every other day, spring?
Right. For sure.
Earth Day, isn't that every day? I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Earth Day should be every day. It really should.
Don't exactly know when official Earth Day is, but
I don't. But then there's like Arbor Day, and then there's this day, and there's that. There's a lot of days that actually celebrate environmental things that
yeah.
nobody ever talks about. So, Sally, I was just explaining to everybody you are coming in from Indiana. You are running from their House of Representatives, District 78, and your primary is on May 5th. So we're getting you right before you have your election.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. Tell me how campaigning has been so far. Tell me about the race and how, getting on the ballot. All of those things have been up to the state.
Okay. Well, getting on the ballot, um, I guess the reason for doing this in the first place was I'm going to give you a long reason. And
Go ahead.
here. So, devastated about the last election, like some people were, and I teach at the university. I'm a university professor in the School of Education, and I have an adult child with special needs and a daughter who's a senior in high school who wants to be an engineer. So I've seen, I see there are a lot of vulnerable people in our community who aren't getting what they need on a daily basis. I see that our kids sometimes aren't getting what they need, and some of that public school money is being siphoned away from our students and our teachers. So, like when I knew that possibly federal Department of Education could be taken away at some point, and I teach a class on that. I teach the difference between that federal and state Department of Education and why both of those are so important. I reached out to our state Department of Education and asked how I could help. And we started talking and collaborating at that point. As soon as my son actually was able to move into a group home, which is what we wanted for him for such a long time. And he was there. I realized I could do more for other people. And I reached out to the Vanderburgh Democratic Party and I asked, how could I help? And they said, you can run for office. So that's what I started to do. Did not know how really to do that. I've learned a lot since then. So your question about like, how do you get on the ballot and all of that, a lot of it, Vanderburgh Democratic Party, which is one of the counties I'm running in, and they've held my hand through all of this because politics are weird and kind of just lots of paperwork. And all I want to do is like try to fight for people. So I knew I had to get my name out there, and I did not have a lot of money to do that. So over the entire summer, I was knocking door to door most days, talking to people in the district. And I realized that another huge part of our community is utility rates and how high our utility rates are. Like, y'all, for a lot of people, it's more than their rent is per month or their utility rates. And they have something called a budget bill that ends up really harming people. They might put them on a budget bill for $290 a month, and then all of a sudden they have a bill of over $1,900. And if they do not pay that, then they get their utilities shut off. And if they just pay a part of it, then they have high interest rates forever with that. And it is not fair for people. And yeah, and we've also, my students tell me, Sally, it's cheaper to move to Indianapolis than to live here. And so they move away. And, like these are young people who are going to be great for our community, but we need to have fair rent for them. And we need to have a renter's bill of rights for our young people so that they'll stay in our community. So that is my long-winded everything explanation. And then I'd love to unpack any of that.
No, I love it. I was taking notes. I'm like, okay, teaches classes between federal and state. Oh, that's actually really good because we have people in here like myself. Let's educate. You literally teach a class at the university on that. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, Federal Department of Education, those are going to be, that's going to be to protect our students with special needs. Some of the reasons why we have the amount of money that our federal Department of Education pays our K-12 schools is less than 4% of their budget. The rest is coming locally and it's coming statewide. So if we have a child who needs additional assistance in the classroom, that's going to cost the local government money. That's going to cost the state government money. And sometimes, I mean, if we're thinking just parents here in this situation, um, they will have pushback at that local level saying, sorry, we can't afford this. We can't afford to provide your child services. That is illegal. But the only reason it's illegal is because we have the Federal Department of Education. If that went away, we may not have protection for our most vulnerable students. So that is a huge part of it for K-12.
My kids, both of my kids are in an IEP. My son, earlier this year, they wanted to take him off of it because he's doing so well. Yeah, he's doing so well in middle school, but how's he going to do in high school? His academics and everything are great right now, but what happens when he's now put back in the classroom with the two kids that bullied him all the way through elementary school, which we were able to maintain and handle, but now they're telling his best friend to tell him, oh, tell Aiden we can't wait to pick up where we left off next year. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I take that as a threat. As a parent, I take that as a threat. So it's one of those, I asked them, I said, so if he starts getting bullied, who's going to be his contact person? And mind you, this was September 18th. I asked them, who is he going to go to? How are you going to handle it? Just ask them. I still have no response from the school as to how they would handle an incident of bullying. None. My daughter, we fought for 4 years to get her on it, and I'm still fighting to get her diagnosed. She finally has the telehealth appointment on May 11th for the conversation to get her tested for ADHD and dyslexia. So we still have to go through another hoop, and then after that, there's a third appointment where we actually get our results.
So are you having to get this? Did you request the school do a testing, provide testing?
The schools don't do testing anymore at all. It is all done through the pediatrician and the doctors.
Did they tell you that?
Yeah, they did. And so I called my doctor who said the school was supposed to do it. And then the school said, no, your doctor's supposed to do it. We don't handle it anymore. And then I called my doctor and she's like, oh, they actually don't handle it anymore. We'll give you a referral to the place that does. It's like, okay. So I had to go back and forth. But she has to get diagnosed by a psychiatrist or a psychologist. That's how the diagnosis has to go.
Correct. And I'll first say that, if we had the rule that we had to have parent advocates in all school systems, that would be really helpful because federally that is illegal still. They must provide testing services, and if you request it in writing, they have to do it within 45 days. And so that clock is ticking, and you had right to sue. But
Oh, I know.
But the thing is, how in the world, number one, what energy do you have as a parent to do that? And the fact that you have to hold their hand and force them to do the right thing is absolutely maddening. And the thing is, to a degree, I think that schools do want to do the right thing, but they are so strapped for cash.
I get that.
Because the state governments are not providing the right amount of support for our schools. And we can do a better job. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. I could even tell you one thing we could do. The voucher system, where they spend public school funds on private schools, where these kids, some of it's going on in Indiana, but Arizona was really bad, where they had the empowerment accounts where some of the people had $150 or like $100 to $150,000 sitting there. They weren't using it for high school because they could afford the high school tuition. They were holding on to it for college tuition because that was more expensive. And I'm like, no, if those funds are not used by the end of the year, that should immediately go back into the public school system to be used at public schools.
Yes.
Why is it just being allowed to sit there and it's funding the accounts of the people who already have money and can't afford to send their kids to private school, which that's a totally different conversation where public schools should be the great equalizer. Private schools should be an option if people can afford it. But the thing about private schooling is you can get your high school diploma without actually taking and passing a single test. They don't have any testing standards. You literally just have to physically be there for K through 12. That's all you have to do is just show up. You get a high school diploma. But going to public school, you actually have to hit certain testing scores in order to get a high school diploma. Same with the GED. You have to get X amount above it. I know I got a 2240 out of 2300 on a GED. So it's one of those, that's part of the problem where I have seen where systemically putting that money into private schools does not help the public at all. It just gives money to the people who already have the money.
Right. And with public schools, like being a public school teacher for 15 years, we have expectations. For instance, our teachers have to be trained, we have to have licenses, we have to pass tests, and then our students have to pass tests. Every year, we're benchmarked to ensure that, like, are we doing the right thing? And I don't know about your state, but like in Indiana, that doesn't track. So there's no ensuring that these teachers are highly qualified, that they are being taught any part of that. And so they're receiving the $7,000 that the public schools aren't getting per student and not having to follow the same requirements that the state holds for public schools. So if they're going to give them money, then hold them to the same requirements for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have people tell me, well, if you don't like the public schooling system and if it's too hard for you to get your kids on an IEP and blah, 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 then send them to private school. You can get scholarships. Here's the thing. I've looked into that. The closest private school that is not a religiously backed organization is an hour and 52 minutes away, and it's not even in my state. It's in Illinois. It's not even in Indiana.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
No, of course. And I think you said something important here, the fact that it's the only private school that's not attached to a religious organization. A lot of these are going to be religious schools connected to possibly churches. And then that is a concern as well. And if you look into the tuition cost of these small schools that are popping up that are private schools attached to churches, their tuition is the exact price as the voucher. So, that's an intentional practice. This is siphoning money, again, out of public schools. It's not like we have two pots for this stuff. And so like those class sizes are increasing. I'm going into second grade classrooms in public schools, and there are 29 kids sitting in that classroom. It's too many, particularly for students who have, we are dealing with trauma-informed instruction, and students who need so much more than just education, but also wraparound supports that we are not providing our children.
Yep. And it's one of those, until 2 years ago, my kids' elementary school had a school psychologist, a social worker on staff because they could afford one. Last year they didn't because they no longer had the funds for it. This year they're trying to get as many kids off IEPs as possible because they don't have the funds for it. And I'm aware of this. This is happening in my school district. And mind you, we're not a poor school district, okay? Think Central Indianapolis, think near Geist, okay? It's not a poor area. We are struggling. People are struggling. Like, we have families who are struggling just to put food on the tables. And then we have the Republican lawmakers decide this year they don't even want to do the Sunbucks program for us. They did not even fill out the paperwork. Why? It was too much of a hassle for them to do. Literally, that was their excuse. All the reports I've read, it was just too much of a hassle to do the paperwork. They didn't want to do it, so they didn't. And they gave the money away.
And that was money that we deserved, that we paid into. Like, these are not just giveaways.
No,
These are this is our community. This is the infrastructure of our society. Like, we are all working together. Our government is not a business. It is there to support our community and to make us a stronger society. And that's what's happening. I mean, like, as a teacher, we had desk drawers full of granola bars for our students. We know that kids cannot learn if they're hungry or if they're tired or if their basic needs are not met. And so we are going to put them into a summer where they may not be getting that one meal that they should be getting a day. It is cruel, and it's creating that pipeline to prison that we know exists for our
Right.
students.
And thank you for the heart me and the gifts, Heidith. And they're saying, I'm so much with how this is done. It's Republicans. They have those blue ribbon awards they give to themselves. It's an investment in our society. And it is. You're absolutely right. Our children are the future.
Yes.
If we are not investing in our children, what are we investing in? My kids, like mind you, my son can sit there and give you a 20-minute spiel about why we need to save the bees. Why? Because he's heard me go on and on and on about it. He can also sit there and give you spiels about all the things we talk about on a regular basis. Why? Because he literally sits right there on his computer while I do all of my interviews. It's osmosis. He learns by osmosis, by just sitting there and hearing what's going on in the background. Because believe it or not, kids are sponges. They pick up and they understand a lot more than what's going on. And part of the reason why I'm making sure my kids are informed is because they only have a few years before they're eligible for voting. And I will be pushing them to go out and vote, especially during the midterms where over 50% of America barely shows up.
Right.
Barely. Like the average is 52 to 53%. Some states, they get 60%. Most states are between 30 and 40. So somewhere between 35 and 45. That's a lot of states that have less than half of their population showing out. And it is for a lot of reasons. There's no voting booths around because election security measures. So they're closing down a lot of them. They can't get rides to the farther ones. They're elderly or they can't get the time off of work. They don't know who the representatives are. Their votes don't matter. Why should they even try? There's a lot of things that go in there. And it's like, you guys, you're not right. You're not right. You're not right. You're not wrong when you say your vote doesn't matter if you don't use it. You're right. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Guess what? Your vote doesn't matter because you didn't use it. Instead, the same 30% of the population that has been going out and voting for the last 30 years is going to be the same population that's going to vote for the next 20. Why? They're all freaking baby boomers in their 60s and 70s now. What else do they have to do with their lives?
Well, and this is the thing, knocking on doors for the last 10 months, I heard a lot of people like that who they have been so disappointed for so long and so frustrated, they've kind of given up. And so this has been good for me to be out there saying, I understand. I truly hear you and I feel that, but we are not done. Like that, and I get, like when I had a 10-year-old with special needs and an 8-year-old who needed all my energy, there was only so much I could do, like politically. And I get that. And so that's why I'm feeling like I've got to stand up now when I know some people are exhausted and tired, and the only thing they can do is possibly vote. So when they hear, oh, there is someone who's going to be fighting for us, then it gets them excited. And so like my daughter, this is her first election she was able to vote in. And she called me like right after school and she was like, Mom, let's go together. And it's not a lot of girls who can say they get to vote for their mama for their first election. So this is something that we need to do more of, I'm a Gen Xer, we have our millennials, we have our Gen Xers. We're coming in and we're saying, okay, it's our time now. Let's step up and change things.
Zennials for the win. The redheaded stepchild in between generation where we grew up like Gen Xers, but we also grew up like millennials because we had that outdoor, like drink from the hose. I swear that's why I look 27 at 41. But at the same time, I grew up at 13, we had the internet. At 15, we had a cordless phone in our house at like 11. And so I lived both of those. And then when it comes to my kids, it's one of those, I have a daughter. My daughter today has less rights than she did the day she was born, and she'll be 11 in May. Yep. I have less rights. Be that as it may, I'll fight for mine, but the fact that my daughter has less rights, the fact that I live in a state, and if somebody were to grape my daughter, she would not be able to get rid of whatever happened from it because our state does not allow it. That is a problem to me. They did finally put in the permanent injunction on the total abortion ban. The judge says, no, there has to be exceptions for, instances of incest or ectopic pregnancy, but there's still the fact where you have women who they need a D&C. Why? Because the fetus died 3 or 4 weeks ago and it's still inside them because their body's not getting rid of it like it should properly. Well, they're saying, well, we have to wait even longer because you have to be on death's door. Literally, the baby is dead. There is no fetal heartbeat. But it's an abortion. Reality, no, you're just finishing the process for her because for some reason the body is not doing what it's supposed to. Instead, she's absorbing it. But I guess that's God's will, right? Because that's what they're saying. Is they're saying, well, it's God's will. It's not. It's not. If you knew what God's will was, you would know save every life that's still here right now. That's God's will.
Absolutely. And I see people in the comments saying that this has happened to them.
Yeah.
And we hear about it every single day of experiences. And then, and yeah, thank you. And thank you for sharing that because, I have one person on our campaign. She shared that she had been, as she is a Catholic, she's been a Catholic her whole life, and she had been pretty pro-life. But her daughter now had struggled to get pregnant for the first time. Her daughter had a child, and she is happy that she's a grandmother, and her daughter wants to have a second child, but the doctor has said, you know what, I'm concerned that you would have complications during your pregnancy and I wouldn't be able to save your life. And so she's had to make the decision that they will not have any more children. And that has been the changing factor for this volunteer of mine to realize, oh, it's more complicated. It's more nuanced even than some of these people who think, I just want more babies in the world. You're literally keeping people from having these babies when you're not allowing doctors to do what is right for their medical patient. And, it's more of, we should all be pro mind your own business. Like, it is not anyone's decision what to do with their body, but that person and their doctor if they need a doctor. So that should be it.
Heidith, you're not wrong. I wanted to have 4 kids. We have stopped at 2. We've been celibate. We have not had intercourse in 3 years now. Why? Even with protection, even with me being on birth control, we don't want to take the chance because I have polycystic ovary syndrome. By definition, that means I'm going to have a harder time with pregnancy. I've had 5 miscarriages and 2 live births. That's it. One of those miscarriages, after 5 weeks, they had to perform the D&C finally because I was dying. I live in Indiana. That was 18 years ago. It hasn't changed. It's just gotten worse, not just in this state, but across the board. At least with Roe versus Wade, if I had an ectopic pregnancy or there was something wrong with my body, we could fix it. I would live. I should be able to live for my 2 kids, not be worried about whether or not a 3rd pregnancy or a 3rd child will take me out and they'll be left motherless. How is that fair to them? How's that fair to my husband? How's that fair to my cats? Like, seriously, how is it fair to them? They're not going to understand why I'm gone. They're just going to know I'm not showing up. And they're not going to be okay with that because I leave for 5 days already and Quetzalcoatl throws a fit when I get back. Imagine if I never came back. That cat would never forgive me. Never. She would probably die within a year. Why? She's a Bengal. When they develop that attachment, especially since she's been with me for 5 years, they don't. A lot of them don't outlive their owners. Why? Because of the love. And it's one of those, like, to save me, we just haven't done anything because it's better not to than to risk it. I hate that.
It's like the fact that you have to beg to live. I mean, like, it's such a simplistic, odd struggle that we're going through right now. I get these, now as a candidate, I get these surveys from these organizations. And one of them is Right to Life. And their survey is so misleading. It's so ridiculously worded. Of course, I did not fill it out, but I am shocked reading the survey. The people who earned an A+ in their opinion, I don't believe that they would have, they're pro-life because they're certainly not showing up for the women and for the people who are alive right now within that.
So I call those not pro-life. They're forced birth organizations, is what it is. There is a right to life. This is funny. It's a billboard on State Road 19 in Noblesville that every time it gets put back up, somebody either splashes paint on it or pulls it back down. And I'm like, I can't blame them. At some point, they're just going to have to realize that they need to not be advertising out here because people are pissed. Yeah. That's what it's coming down to. You know, people are pissed, and we're starting to see small things, small breakages, small fires literally happen. I mean, I do not condone violence. I don't condone the taking of any lives. But all I can tell you is the United Healthcare CEO was the beginning. There have been 20 more CEOs since then, and media is not covering it. There have been more fires than just the one that, you know, the gentleman was caught for. The only reason why he was caught is because he recorded himself. But that's just it. Is people are at the point where they will gladly record themselves and hand you the evidence saying, see, big 2 fingers up to you. I don't care anymore. I have nothing left to lose.
And that's
Do
the
it.
thing. You know, we have a society. My husband was saying, I would just love to have enough money to feel like I'm safe and secure in this world. You know, that, you know, everything is going up in cost except for how much we're getting paid. But these CEOs seem to be getting millions and millions of dollars. They're just collecting so much cash. And so they're all of us, and then these very, very wealthy elite people who are just taking advantage of all of us. And hopefully people will start to see that as what it is, where it's no longer really this like red blue thing. There are people who are taking advantage of every single person who has to work for a living. We are not getting a fair shot. We are not able to work just 40 hours a week anymore.
And here's the thing is, reality, we shouldn't be working 40 hours a week. We should be working 32 at the most. I'm not joking about that one. I am a licensed massage therapist and wellness coach. I have been in some part of the medical industry, believe it or not, since I was 6. That sounds weird, but my aunt was an LMT. She's now a physical therapist. But when I was 6, she taught me basic myofascial release, trigger point therapy, and deep tissue. Understand, I became obsessed with feeling muscles release in my hands. I still am to this day. It's why I love my job. But I spent middle school and high school just learning from books, checking things out. I can remember the librarian asking my mom, are you sure she can check out that book? It's just an anatomy book. Yeah, but it has genitals in it. And my mom's like, and they're part of the human body. Like, but I was 12. She was concerned. And my mom's like, listen, if she has any questions, she's going to ask. But she's changed her brother's diaper before. There's no mysteries for her. And it's like, yeah. So I've spent my entire life just learning things, you know, about the environment, about our world. My teachers in middle school in the 90s, they predicted all of the things that were going to happen with our climate based on everything that we didn't stop doing. They're right. They were right. Every last one of them. I hate the fact that they were right, but they were predicting all this stuff that is happening because, well, the people in power decided, well, we don't really need to care about it till 2030, 2040, and we'll probably be dead by then anyways. Why do we care? It's the 90s. That's 30, 40 years away. My dude, really? You're still alive because high medical advances, you know? Oh, you wish everyone has those? Yeah, but it's just one of those. We're at the point where it is class warfare. It is us versus them. It's top versus bottom. It's the 99 versus the 1%. And the 1% is not just the billionaires. It is the multimillionaires who make more money in 1 year than they will spend in probably 10 lifetimes. More than they would definitely spend in a 1 lifetime. Like if you make more than $200 million a year in interest on your investments, and that's just not earned income, and that's what you're living off of, so you don't have to pay taxes, Because, oh my God, the loopholes. The loopholes. If I were wealthy, I would be doing that because it would just make me wealthier. It's why they're doing it. We need to close a lot of those tax loopholes where we need to tax interest, and we need to tax it at, if you make more than X amount of interest on your investments, you pay 95% of that. Why? Because you do not need to be making $1 billion a year. I'm not sorry when I say that. Anybody who's making one, go ahead.
And this is the thing with that, like if you get down to it, if you think, oh, well, some of the arguments, because it used to be that way. To a degree, it used to be that way. And that's the way it should go back to. And some of the arguments are that, oh, I want to give my money in my way. Well, we have enough data to document that these billionaires and multimillionaires are not giving away a percentage of their money that they should be. And I think, like we have a middle health crisis all the way from, it's not like these multimillionaires are happier than we are, and so how is it that if we like dig in and just kind of, if I could take a moment to think like, okay, what would make them feel better? Like I would be letting them know, hey, look at what your money is going to help. Like you are changing the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
You are making it so that kids can learn how to read. They're in classrooms of 15, that kids have an excellent preschool. Like you are this great person in your community. However, we need to hold them up and acknowledge their like, yay, you won at capitalism. Well done, you.
Right.
Like here's your gold star, here's your blue ribbon, whatever you need to feel good about yourself, and you can collect those things. But it's almost like all they need to do is collect things. Let's give them something else to collect. I don't know, but they can do a better job just being good people. And I think if we acknowledge that and kind of spin it in a way of like, look what you could do for your community, maybe that would help.
No, and you're not wrong, because a lot of them, they are narcissists. Feed their egos. If you feed their egos, they will do whatever you want. Trust me, I have dealt with narcissists my entire life. My grandmother was. She was a big one. And it was one of those, feed their ego, and they'll be like, oh, well, okay. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Show them how they improved all the roads with their money, or how they did all this, and tell them thank you. Like, even if you have to like name a road after them at some point to say thank you, do it. Is that really that big of an idea? You have Nate Wilson Street. Congratulations, Nate Wilson. I don't know if there's a Nate Wilson out there, but like you donated like $1 billion. You won capitalism and got a street named after you. Congratulations. Good job.
Exactly.
Oh, wait, my bad.
I love it. It's like, make it measurable. Someone says in the comments, make it measurable. And that's so great. It's like gamifying. Like, like with I was a middle school teacher, thinking about how do I change middle schoolers' minds to want to work hard. Anything that we can do. Okay, how can we change these people's minds to make them want to give back to their community instead of just hoarding all their wealth? Like make it into a special club that they get to be in. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, we can do something. And then the flip side is there are people like Mark Cuban who really have put their money towards doing the right thing. One of the things I love is his website with the pharmacy prescriptions, where there are somewhere we get mine through that website instead of through the pharmacy, because through the website it's $10, at the pharmacy it's $450. Yep.
Ridiculous.
And that was after insurance. And I'm like, how much is it on his website? I'm like, oh, Dan, we're doing this. It's $10. He goes, oh God, we're doing that. I'm like, yes, we are. Because I cannot afford $450 every time I need that prescription. Because it's not a daily prescription. It's an as needed prescription, but I still need it. Just like my EpiPens, instead of spending $450 for 2 of them, it's $30. $30 for EpiPens. Yeah. So it's things like that where since they took away the whole Walmart was doing insulin for $5 and a cap of $35 a month, since they took that away, you can get something very similar off his website where you can get 5 bottles for $25. So he's trying to help out the way he can by giving people the medicines at the cheapest price possible. And that's what he says. It's the cost plus just a little bit more to pay the employees. That's all he's asking. Okay, bet. And the rest of it's being funded with his own money. So if he's actually at a loss, he is paying for it out of his pocket. Okay, bet. That is somebody who is using his money to do the right thing for the people because the country won't.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, okay, fine. Then if we can't, we're going to try this political thing. We're going to try to vote these people in that are trying to do something different. And if and maybe yes and type thing, maybe we just need to change these practices so that we have alternative hands-on for someone who is also like that, an alternative, these other types of things, and just promote and support those businesses. I mean, we're already trying to do that, but it's so sneaky, some of the places that, this money is being funneled, and who's behind some of these people and where they're sending their money. And I think that's what we can do. We can vote with who we're paying for different things, and we can vote in the primaries and in this next election coming up.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what we have to do is, in order to start changing things, we have to vote. We have to. And the reason why I'm doing this is, listen, people keep asking me, why don't I just run for office? I could. Let's be honest. I'm a very charismatic person and I care. I would probably win. I could help 10 to 15,000 people, and that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or I could pursue one of the passions I always wanted to do as a teenager, because Barbara Walters was a huge influence on me. And instead take that energy and find as many people as I can and let them have a voice on my platform and try to help them get elected. And let's say out of 100 people, I actually help 10 of you get elected. That's 150 to 200,000 people I've helped instead, if not more.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I think there's a
Okay. That's better. And who knows? Maybe one day I will run. I'm 41. There's a lot of time for me, that 20 years, easy 20, 25 years where I could decide, hey, I think I'm going to it's my turn. But right now, this is where I want to be because I'm having fun. And that's the whole point, is you should be having fun while you're doing it. And if you're not, there's a problem. And don't get me wrong, politics itself is not fun. You have to gussy it up to make it interesting. Other people are like, but that's just it, is politics really should be the most thing out there. Where, no, I don't want to. Who wants to sit there and push paper and talk about laws and policies? I don't. Ew, yuck. Who wants to do that? I told one of my clients, I said, you know what? Because again, massage therapist was working on them. And I'm like, listen, because they're like, well, you should run for president one day. I'm like, the only way I'm going to ever make president is everybody writes my freaking name in, and Shadow Kitten 84 will be president one day. That's the only way. But write-ins are allowed. Just saying. That's still, you have everybody on the ballot, but then there's always the option to genuinely write in another choice. You don't have to vote for people on the ballot. And if everybody in the country were to write in the same person, guess what? They win. They win the popular vote.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should absolutely have something that we tried to vote out already in Indiana, like that ranked choice voting.
Yep.
That would help us not have this two-party system. But we are starting to see there's some negatives of that. But until then,
you have a TV at the foot of your bed.
Without that ranked choice voting, it's so hard to have write-ins and other candidates.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is that's something I actually talked to quite a few people about, and I've talked to Mike, Breaking the Meta, about that's one of the things is we need ranked choice voting, and we need to get rid of the electoral college. And believe it or not, I genuinely agree with him. I think if we were to truly go with ranked choice voting and we were truly to go with popular vote, I think we would actually have a good chance of turning the country around, because otherwise it's just the people who are in the parties who've already been there for a while saying, no, we don't care who your vote is, because the electoral college, who we want, is what matters.
Right.
Well, what if everybody that's representing your state is actually not voting for the same person your state voted for? So your state went blue, but all your representatives went red. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. you should absolutely be voting blue if your entire state went blue. End of story. Because your constituents, that's what they want. And if you're concerned about your district or your county, well, then look at your district. Look at your district and see what your district went. If your district went with blue, vote blue, because that's what your district wants.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. That's why we need to get rid of the electoral college and actually let popular vote or ranked voting, both of them, be how we elect our representatives.
Exactly. And then we need to kind of consider how the money that we have in politics and how to change that. And, like, how is it that campaigns are getting funded, and to what degree, and what type of organizations are allowed to give, and how can they, like, hide their donations in some ways. I mean, it's all very, it then leads to people not voting for the people to put them in office, but instead vote for the people who paid to get them into office. And that's a very
Yep. And Hyatt is saying over to Citizens United. Absolutely. That's one thing that needs to go. Citizens United has to go. God, there was going to be something else I was going to say. Oh, the Musk took votes, the money. So on that note, September 2025, Elon Musk interview, voting machines, any counties less than 50 votes for Harris. If you put in those keywords, you should be able to find exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, he said to double check any counties in any states that have 50 or less votes for Harris, because those were the ones that were down. Just saying. But do your research, guys. Go ahead and do your research. By all means, please look it up and find the information for yourself. I will always tell you that. Don't just take my word for it. By all means, I do my research. I literally pull all these things up. I can tell you the keywords to go, search, so you can find exactly what I found and connect the dots for yourself. I'm handing you the dots, the pins and the string. All you got to do is stick them in the board. All you got to do is just stick them in the board where I tell you to stick them. So hopefully you can find that, but you're not wrong. The gerrymandering, I was actually proud of Indiana when they voted not to redistrict us again and gerrymander even more. And I was surprised. But then again, you have to understand there's a lot of representatives in Indiana that are done. They're just done with all the BS. A lot of them aren't even rerunning anymore. Like, they're not running. There's somebody else running because they don't want to do anything with it anymore. They are just done. And it's good. Okay, let's get you out of office and somebody into office that is not going to just sit there and twiddle their fingers and sit on their thumb all day. Because you know what? We need shit to happen. It's one of those, shit or get off the pot. Literally, just make a choice.
With our area, the person I'm running against voted for redistricting, because he was one of the cohort
My head does not fall down like that whenever I walk.
Flew up to DC to meet.
Bro, what is your POV?
Some of
You
those
look like a giant.
already decided, oh, I'm going to vote for this. I think he was one
My
that
head does not tilt
definitely
like that.
just was going to vote for it no matter what. Other people were kind of talked into it and sweet talked into it while they were up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a few
bro,
who,
the
like that was
accurate head turn.
asked our town hall in
A slow
January.
turn towards
It was
the
asked
door.
this explain why
And
you
just
voted the way you
zoom
did.
in closer and
Right.
closer to the
The
door,
Republicans said, oh, I voted this way because I was scared that our area, our districts wouldn't receive our federal funds. So they were pretty much saying, I was scared of a bully. I didn't stand up against the bully. I was a little wimp.
Whoa,
And you
whoa.
voted in
Wait, bro.
not have a strong enough backbone to vote what the district was requesting them to vote.
Oh,
So
damn it.
I found that
Oh, yeah, I'm
pretty
gonna eat
sick.
that, bro.
they would acknowledge that.
No, and that's it. That's why I was talking about Sunbooks earlier and how they just decided it was too much of a hassle. The fact that they keep repeatedly going against the best interest of the people, not only in their district, but their states, period. Because I'm hearing some of the same things from you in your district, District 78, District 38, District, 47, District 46, God, there was a District 13. And mind you, these are all just in Indiana. it's the same thing across the board. It's, data centers are an issue. It's the utilities are an issue. Education is an issue. Housing is an issue. The rising homelessness is an issue. Food scarcity is starting to become an issue. There's all these different issues. Like, if our representatives would actually just vote in our interest instead of against it, none of this would be an issue. The fact that in Indiana alone, since 2025, our housing affordability has dropped dramatically because housing costs have increased by 42%. I had a real estate agent on my table yesterday, and we were actually talking about this because when we moved into our house, my husband bought it, he paid $119,000 for it. Okay, back in 2019, if we were to sell it, it would sell for about, 210, 220, about what you would figure it would appreciate over 15, almost 20 years, right? Now, no, without fixing anything up, it would be 260 easy. And if we actually fix the house up, it'd be 350. And the 2 stories in our neighborhood are going for about 450 to a half a million. They're not worth that. They are not. Let me tell you. $500,000? No. But because housing has increased so much because they're trying to make Indiana match Ohio and Illinois on either side of us with, and I can get into BlackRock here in a second, with the people who have bought everything thinking that nobody's going to notice. But guess who's noticed? Hoosiers have noticed. The people who live in Indiana have noticed that we can't afford to live in Indiana anymore.
Right. Exactly.
That's a problem because Indiana is supposed to be one of the more affordable states because it has a lower cost of living, even though it does have a lower average wage. It's nowhere near as expensive as California, which average wage is only a few dollars higher than us.
Yeah. So, we have our prices for rent going up, utilities have doubled. And then you noted the food prices are going up, and then other prices are going to go up because of fuel prices going up, fertilizer, all of the things are going up considerably. And then, so people are in more precarious spot, whether, like they're right on the cusp of being kicked out of their home, evicted because they're just one like $100 extra bill a month being kicked out. And then we have discovered in Evansville 27% increase of women and children in homelessness, just women and children, and so that increase is not for men, it's just for women and children. And then for our last session, we made homelessness a crime. And that was something that my representative voted for. So our answer to all of these increased costs is just to fill our prisons with people who are just trying to get by and work for a living, and they just come off that.
That's way too long of a tale.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research for Indiana, so overall, the state average for 2025, the increase in homelessness was 7% across the board. That's actually a lot. And understand, some counties were much higher, while some of them were at like 1%. But there were some counties that were at 15 and 18% increase. And I'm sitting there going, no. But these are also counties where the housing used to be affordable, but everything has doubled in the last 2 to 3 years, where people who were once paying rent that was $1,500 a month and they could barely afford that are now being told it's going to be $2,000 a month, and they're going to have to choose. Do they pay their car payment? Do they pay utilities? Do they buy food? What do they do? Because they can't even afford to keep the roof over their head. We pay $1,200. Actually, it's $1,250 a month. It's a little over $1,200. We pay it just a little bit more towards the principal to get it down a little faster. We have slowly gone up from when I moved in 15 years ago was $800, but has increased a little over $400 over the course of time because, interest on it keeps going up, and Wells Fargo just doesn't charge us the right amount, and then they charge us more to get it back, and it's like, that's a scam. That's a scam. They're purposely doing that to make more money off of us. I said, if you don't call and don't say something, I end up being on the phone with him. He called and he's like, this is my wife. I give her permission. I chewed their asses out. And I told them, no, what you're going to do is you're going to make the amount correct, and you're going to start charging us the correct amount starting today, or else I'm going to get a lawyer involved and we're going to sue you because you have you basically have embezzled more money from us because you've told us that you undercharged us $2,000 last year. Now that we have to pay extra plus interest on top of that amount. No, that's not how this works. Yeah, no, we pay the correct amount now.
Good. And see, that's why, I mean, this is the thing, you know, like mamas, women, we're fired up. We are not taking this anymore.
We're pissed.
And
We're done.
you know, in politics, in any other area, you know, we are going to change things because we have to. It's like for kids, we have to do it. So,
You're right, Haida. They want us to not have options. They want us to be dependent on men, you know, and it's assault on our rights. I mean, that's why they're trying to take away our rights. They're trying to push the SAVE Act through, which, okay, sidebar, SAVE Act. Everybody, whoever's listening to this, please, please, please tell everybody you know to call your representatives on the federal level and tell them do not vote for it, and tell everybody they know do not vote for it. And if they have to call them every day, 10 times a day to make sure it doesn't happen, please do it. Because otherwise we're at the risk of disenfranchising over 7 million Americans. And that's not just women. Yes, the vast majority of them are married women who changed their names when they got married. But there's also men who have changed their names, because I know a gentleman who was named Tallulah when he was born. Yeah, he hates it when I call him Lulu. He changed his name to David, okay? But his birth certificate still says Tallulah. So it's one of those, you have people out there, men who have hyphenated the last names. You have people who have changed genders, who are at risk of being just disenfranchised completely. You have so many Americans, based on whatever reasons they had for changing their name, who are not going to be able to vote unless they actually amend their birth certificate, amend their passport, and have all of their documents be the same. Yep. Oh, that's not what it is. Yes, it is. If you read the SAVE Act, you have to have your passport, your birth certificate have to have the same name. If they do not match, you are not allowed to vote, period.
Right. I mean, it's, and the way that they've named these things, you know, it's just.
Under his eye. Yep.
Yeah.
It should be under her eye, though.
The way that they've spun it and just what they're calling these things, and then saying, oh, if you're against this, you are a this. And it is the marketing for people who are not following this closely or are doing other things, who are just trying to get by. They would hear the name of this and think, oh, this isn't a bad idea.
That's a great thing. That's not a bad. No, we want to save America. It's a purpose. It's a deception.
Yes.
It's misleading and deception on purpose. Yes. This has been a marketing tactic for decades. Like, I can trace it back to the 1920s, when I know for a fact they started doing it, because I know the ads that I can reference, where they started saying, oh, blah, 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 this is such a great thing. But when you actually look into it, oh, no, that's a bad thing. That's a very bad thing. We don't want that at all. But, oh, it sounds good, so we're going to do this and push it through. Except for it's bad. It's very bad. We don't want that. It's killing people. But what do we do?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, that's the thing.
1984 by George Orwell.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, teaching at the university, I have, you know, there have been a few times that people have gotten, they've figured that out. I'm running for office. I'm a university professor, and they'll start calling the Democrat and the fact that I'd be a leftist, you know, like indoctrinating their kids. And it's just like, no, it's just that when kids are introduced to literature, you know, I was an English teacher, when they're reading these things and they're talking and discussing, they start to see there's stuff that does not add up here. And you cannot keep people uneducated for long. And if they become educated, they stop believing this BS that they are feeding.
Yeah. Yep, it's connecting the dots. And that's why I was telling you earlier, like, I'll give you keywords. You go do the research, you connect the dots yourself. And I love it when people are like, okay, I did the research, I connected the dots. Oh my God, you were right. I am so sorry for doubting you. It's like, it's cool. Do you want a few more, you know, names and things you can go connect the dots with? No, I really don't. Well, I'm going to give them to you anyways. Why? Because you need to stay informed. Because, my friends, ignorance in this world is not bliss, it is the illusion of bliss. True bliss is being educated, informed, and having the power on your side. Because, like it or not, knowledge is power. And they're trying to keep us from having the knowledge. I have to get on my daughter because I have to tell her, Phoenix, sweetheart, you have to understand, they are trying to take away your right to an education. They are trying to keep you stupid. Do you want to be stupid? No. Then I need you to apply yourself when you're at school and actually do your schoolwork. If you don't understand something because of this dyslexia, tell your dad and me. We will sit down. We help her through every assignment she struggles with. Why? Because we want her to succeed. And we will get her the help. We are working on getting her the help. But it's one of those, I will never stop fighting for my daughter. And it pisses me off when I see so many parents, it's whatever. They'll figure it out. Listen, kids are smart, but they're not that smart. They do actually need teachers and guides and masters. Do not think back to all the way throughout history. Masters always had apprentices for a reason, and they started as kids for a reason. Because they start teaching them young, so that by the time they were a teenager, they were starting to actually master the craft, so that by the time they were in their 20s, they were a master of it. There's a reason why. It's because that's how we grow. That's how we prosper as a society, is we pass our knowledge on to the next generation. Fun story. The reason why women go through menopause is so that we live longer. We live longer than men. Our role, once we're no longer able to bear children, is then to teach the next generation of children and pass the knowledge along to make sure, because we are the elders, that the next generation has the knowledge that we've gleaned over our years so that they are ready and set up for a better future than what we had. That's how it's supposed to be. It's the reason why a lot of times when you talk about elders, grandma's around, but grandpa's not. Why? Because grandma's outlived grandpa by 20 years. Because women are actually, in fact, meant to outlive men. However, we are forced to bear so many children that it kills us at a young age. Most of the women in my family, even those with cancer, have lived to the ripe old age in their 90s. My grandmother being the only one who hasn't made it. She was 72. There's a reason why I am on top of my health, because I will be like my Aunt Jeannie. I will live to 96. Or my grandma who died of cancer at 92. I will live that ways. Why? So I can help pass that knowledge on to my grandkids if I have them, my great-grandkids if I have them, and any generations that are still around as I'm growing. But then again, I will also pass that knowledge on to people of my generation, to the people who are older than me, to anybody who's willing to sit here and hear anything I have to say that will help them grow. Why? Well, I have one client who tells me he loves to see me every week because he always learns something new, and he does. I'm like, did you know? He's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, well, let's talk about that today because I just learned about this. Yeah. Why? Because I love it when I find out new things. I want to share my knowledge with as many people as possible, and I will tell everybody who will listen to me.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah, when I was teacher, I got an award for the teacher who taught us something we never knew existed every day. So like that, I think it's important. I think it's so important to encourage that knowledge and growth and curiosity. But you know, like
I just came on Roblox.
One thing that we have to
Well, I offered to play ERLC.
that we have to remember is that we have a responsibility to find ways.
You said you had someone who would actually pick you up.
Politics to those people who say, "Oh, I'm not political."
Yes, you did. You said you had stolen a car and you were playing with someone who would actually pick you up with your car.
I'll talk to them. I'll knock on their door and they'll say, "Yeah, I'm not political. I don't like to talk about that," or "I don't vote anymore," or like it's just not my thing. And so you have to find ways of listening to them and finding what they didn't realize is policy and is political that they do care about. I think that for so long, a lot of us have just been like, oh, politics is just like something else over here that we don't think about. We're just going to set it and forget it. And we're going to go on and live our lives. And we have no idea how much of this is about policy. And that we have, it's on us, I guess, now to make sure that people know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that,
And that's just it.
yeah,
This is the rallying cry for Gen X and millennials. Guys, guess what? It's our time to step up. Let's take the flag from the old guard, the baby boomers and the older ones. And I'm sorry when I say somebody who's an octogenarian should no longer be in office.
mhm,
You should be at home enjoying the last, decade of your life. Go. Just shoo shoo. But it's really, guys, it is our turn. It is our turn for the people who were born in the 70s and the 80s to step up, because honestly, we have people being born in the 90s and the early 2000s who are running for office. Guys, seriously, do you want to be shown up by a bunch of snot-filled brats who are barely out of diapers? I mean, seriously, we're 20 plus years older than them. Are we really going to let them show us up? And as for the people who don't do politics, until about 10 years ago, that was me. I had a daughter, and I realized that, I cannot raise a girl in this world. Nope. And I pulled my head out of the ground, and I started looking at the area around me, seeing what I could do locally. Unfortunately, what I was doing locally is not helping enough. So here we are. We're going nationally. Who knows? I might help somebody. That'll be great. We've been pushed out. Ageism is a thing. It is. But we're at the point where, for the those who say they don't do politics, okay. Do you go to the grocery store? Have you seen the increase in your grocery bill? How do you go to the gas pump? How often do you fill up? Like, we just put $80 into my husband's car. I was so excited when I spent $30, actually it was $29.50 in my car, and I put in 9.78 gallons. Unfortunately, I won't have to put in another for another 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We got the evap system in my car fixed after $3,000. I am so happy. Why? Because that's going to help me save money. Yeah. So if those things affect you, has your property tax or mortgage gone up? How about your utility bill? I bet your utility bill's gone up. Everybody's utility bill in Indiana's gone up, and I can actually explain the reason to you about that. If you don't do politics, my friend, those things are going to continue to go up, because if you do not do politics, politics will do you, and it's not going to use lube. You're going to want to do politics to at least get the lube, my friend. And I know there's a lot of people where I'm very crass, but they laugh because it's one of those, most people, once they get to know me, they realize, like, I'm very blunt. I'm going to be honest and direct with you, but I'm going to try to make it funny at the same time. It's one of those, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. And all I can think of is, if you don't do Mother Russia will do you. That's all I can think in my head, is somebody in a Russian accent going on about, if you don't do this, it's going to do you. It's like, if you don't do politics, gas prices are going to do you. If you don't do politics, grocery prices are going to do you. If you don't do politics, guess what? You're not going to be able to afford that new home that you really, really want to move into because you outgrew your home 10 years ago. It's never going to happen because you have to do politics. And mind you, you don't have to get super involved. Go to Ballotpedia. Look up your district. Find out who's running in your district. Research everybody if you do a party. Find somebody in that party you like. Find their webpage. Go and research them. Make sure you actually want to give them your vote. And then on voting day for the primaries, go out and vote. On November 3rd, even if they don't get it, go out and vote for the best candidate you can. The one that you actually think, well, out of this one and this one, I like this one better. He's not my primary, the one I wanted, but you know what? I'll go for him because he's good enough. That is something better than just not doing anything.
Yep.
If you don't do politics, this may be the last time you have the option to do politics.
That's absolutely right, Heidi. And the thing is that there are so many times where I've had people say, well, find someone for this district or whatever. It's like, dude, like, maybe you should step up. If you want somebody in this district, maybe you should do it, for these people who are saying this to me. But if you do not have somebody in your district, help support those people who are running that you do support. Because we are all in, like, for instance, in Indiana, if you do not have anyone running in your district, support someone in another district that you think might be able to win. Because if we can flip 4 seats in the state house, we will no longer have a super majority in the state house. And then they're going to have to listen to the other side more often. And it's going to change things. And for any of us, just the fact that there's so many of us running against these people who, like my guy, no one ran against him last time. And that's common. And so now they just know, oh, people are paying attention now. I might have to actually do what's right for my district some of the time because people are showing up and they're paying attention now.
Receiving the orange and a vacuum.
Also, just, yeah, coming out to vote just demonstrates that we have not forgotten that they're out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, again, this is one of the reasons why I love doing this, because by the end of May, I will have interviewed 8 people for the state level House of Representatives for Indiana.
Yeah,
And it's one of those, if we could get even 2 of those 8 people I've talked to elected, and my hope is for way more than that, because the conversations and the ideas I've heard from all of you, I'm not gonna lie, they align with what I want for my country because they are what is best for the people. And that is kind of what I know me and others want to hear is, what do you plan on doing? Your platform, your policy, your goals, how you plan on achieving it. That's all fine and dandy. But part of the reason why I want to sit and talk is because guess what? We kind of want to know who you are. Who's Sally? What kind of stuff does she love? What's her nerdy passions? Like, who is she when she is not on camera? And the thing about long form interviews is I've realized that after about 45 minutes to an hour, you can't hide who you are. If you are somebody other than what you've presented, it's going to start slipping. It's going to come through. Why? Because I'm going to ask you a weird question before we hop back into like utilities about what's a nerdy passion? Like seriously, what is a nerdy passion?
Okay, so I have a pin on the side of my office. Like I have tons of pins on the side of my office. There's enamel pins, and it's like, ask me about my hyperfixation. Me hyperfixations about things. I have, like I have my knitting that I'm obsessed with. I love my knitting. I I have a child with severe special needs, and when he got to be the age
No. It's like the.
I realized,
Well, no, it's
this is going to be tough for me this year, just teaching. So I decided, why don't I just start an art on the side? So I'd really liked lino cut prints when I was in undergrad. I did like printmaking. So I started making prints of authors' faces and putting quotes from those authors because I'm a book person. I love books, and I sold them to bookstores all over the United States. Local bookstores. I did that for about 6 years. So I had this like little side hustle going on, and then I guess my obsession for like history and that sort of thing. Ever since I was like in first grade, I was really interested in, okay, this is going to sound super nerdy, World War II and the Holocaust. And so just kind of the understanding of what leads a society to make the decisions that got them to that place. So as we are here right now, that's why I'm like, oof, this is my time.
Yep.
So yeah, that I have a lot of passions, a lot of interests.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hate that like right now I'm kind of having put some of them on the side until guys, yeah.
Listen, I feel for you.
Going from place to place though.
No, I love to crochet. I have crocheted a blanket for each one of my cats as I've gotten them, so that they have a blanket for the entire time they're here. That's theirs. And then I have a memento of them afterwards. And you can't really see, but in that cave, there's a pink blanket. You can barely see it, but that is the blanket I made for Knox. She passed a year ago last September, and my cat Quetzalcoatl every so often will go in there and snuggle it because she knows it was her sister's blanket. It still smells like her. Like I've smelled the blanket, it still smells clean, so I haven't washed it, but it still smells like Knox because I had her on it and with it her last few days before she passed of cancer. So it's one of those, my cats have a memento of their sister that still smells like them, which Samhain and Fortuna, that's not so much, but she was part of Quetzalcoatl's life for 3 years. So yeah, of course, Quetz bonded with her. So it was one of those, that's for her. Because believe it or not, yeah, guys, animals have emotions too. They feel grief, they feel pain, they get upset. Believe it or not, all the emotions we feel, they have the ability to feel them too. It's the reason why their love is so damn pure. Because if you could earn an animal's love, especially a cat's love, oh, there's nothing better. There's nothing better. But yeah, it's literally your time. You are a natural leader, and I love the fact that um, you are a World War II and Holocaust buff, like a history buff. My kids and I was talking to my son about the World War II and Holocaust because they were learning about it in school, and I asked him about the Diary of Anne Frank. He goes, "Oh yeah, we watched a documentary about the making of the film The Diary of Anne Frank."
Oh,
Johnny, you're the guilty one.
hey,
not
is
me.
there someone speaking in your background?
Sure.
Yeah, it's my son.
Okay, got it. Heidi, I think that is on. That is
It's probably my son. My headphones are picking him up in the background.
yeah. Okay, because got it. She was like, I want you to clip on a microphone. I can hear a man speaking when you're making a point. So sorry, I can't. I'm
No,
done.
it's me. It's me.
Okay.
It's these. He's just talking really loud, and they obviously they pick up sound
Yeah,
really well.
yeah. So I love the making of Anne Frank. So I heard I went to a school. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee originally, and I was it was the first high school built in Memphis, and so it was Central High School, but we had an H for our letter for when people lettered in
Jack.
sport because it was the high school. And so
No,
I
he's lying. He's
I
lying. Never
was
said
a
that.
big minority there, like that was something that being in Memphis, I think there were like 500 students, 10% of us were white. So like I was accustomed to not being the majority race in places. One thing that people, and I think it's just because I'm white and have dark hair, but people always said I looked like Anne Frank when I was there, and so they would just kind of assume that I would be the one to talk about Judaism because of that. So I've learned a lot about Judaism because I would always have to write articles in high school on like they'd be like, "Oh, you can do this. You're like Anne Frank." Yeah.
For
So
me, I learned about Judaism and went to Jewish summer camps because my best friend was Jewish, and so I learned a lot about that prior to learning anything about the Holocaust. Understanding that it was part of my best friend's history because she had,
yeah,
relatives who had survived it.
yeah.
And then coming to find out after we had my DNA tested, I'm part Ashkenazi Jew. And I'm like, oh, well, that explains the bump on my nose right there. And my mom's like, yeah, your great grandma immigrated from Germany during that time. I'm like, oh,
Same.
yeah. She's like, yeah, she wasn't put in an internment camp. She got out right before then. I'm like, oh, yeah. So that is part of my history. But that's where it kind of irks me where they're not teaching the next generation as much about that as they should. They go over it, they gloss over it, but I told my son he is going to be reading The Diary of Anne Frank. I got a copy of it in my garage, and we will get the movie. I think it's very important that he understands from a survivor's standpoint what going through something like that is like, because it is happening in our country right now where we have neighbors, and it may not be Indiana right this second, but it is in other states where I have friends who have been housing their neighbors and nobody knows where the neighbors are. They just disappeared, but they're taking care of their dogs.
Right, right. Um, you know, there's a program called Facing History and Ourselves, and they're out of Boston, but they have an office in Memphis. And so we had classes that were kind of embedded into our curriculum as a middle school student, high school student, and then I used it when I was teaching multiple books like The Book Thief and To Kill a Mockingbird and some of those. Like there are lots of different stories that we do not fully investigate and tell in some districts. And fortunately, I was in a place where we really could and acknowledge the pain that our society has been built on the backs of so many who have suffered because of us. And I think in some ways, there's some rot in our society that we've got to shine a light on in order to go forward with full choosing the next right step forward must be acknowledging the pain of those that came before us completely. And it's scary to do that. And I think that's what this backlash is part of, is that this is kind of the death throes of this white Christian nationalism of saying, oh, we're scared to do this. We don't want to do this. But that arc of justice bends eventually toward highlighting all of the struggles of the people that were part of our society's creation.
Yep, you're not wrong. Just because they want to tear down, Black history museums does not mean Black history never happened. Just because they don't want to talk about the Trail of Tears anymore does not mean we did not subjugate and move Americans, true Americans, off of their land. For them to sit there and say, go back to where you came from. Well, what happens when the people you're telling who look white but are part Cherokee? Because I have a lot of friends who look like me, but we're all part Cherokee. You'd never tell until you actually, well, for them, they tan. I just become a freckle. I'm either iridescent, lobster, or freckle. I have more Irish in me than anything. But that's my history, is what happens when you're white, but your family came over as indentured servants. That was just a pretty name for white slavery. Because indentured servant, you were owned by your master until you paid off your debt to get there. And guess what? They also charged you for your food, your clothing, your stay. Yeah. So whatever you made went right back to them. So you never bought your freedom.
Right.
But they're just servants, right? No, it was white slavery. So understand, yes, white people built their society off the backs of Blacks, whites, Spaniards, Asians, American Indians, anybody they could, that they could put down and step on as a stepping stone. That's exactly what they did. And just because you don't want to acknowledge it doesn't mean that's not the reality of it. Just because we want to say America's always been great does not actually mean America's always been great. If you go back and look at the forefathers, you will know half of them were for abolishing slavery in the Constitution, but the only reason why they didn't is they were afraid the other half of them would actually rebel.
Right. And, all of that we can do, I think people are so scared of, what about that history is scary? But it is for some people. And once enough, and I think these younger generations, they're able to hold that information. They're able to hold these multiple perspectives. And I think it's that perspective taking when we're teaching this history, at least for me, when I was teaching using that facing history in ourselves lens, you were taking, you were teaching perspective taking of different people in this time period, what was going on. And that teaches empathy. And that teaches critical thinking. And those are things that are scary for folks as well.
Yes.
I feel so hopeful that we're going to change this. It might take longer than we'd like, but
And here's the thing. I agree. This is what I tell everybody is, while we're hoping for 100% the first go round, let's be realistic. We're going to be lucky if we get 20%. reality is probably going to be about 10%. But hey, even if it's 8%, that's better than zero because it's a step forward. And if we take one step forward, then guess what? The second step is easier because once you start the ball rolling, once you fire that first shot, people are more likely to take the second one. It's just getting somebody to shoot the first shot. That's what we have an issue with in our society. Me, I'm the kind of person where I will wait for somebody else to look around. And if nobody else is like not even looking around to see who's going to take over, oh, fine. You know what? Screw all of you. If you don't like it, come take it from me because I will lead if nobody else wants to. But you want to lead? Here you go. Take it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Take it. I don't want it. But if nobody else is going to stand up and do it, God damn it, I'm not going to have everybody stand around with their thumbs up their butts doing nothing.
Exactly.
Give me the list. Let me assign everybody a job. I'll do this job. Now let's get to it, people. It's that simple. But then we have so many people who sit around going, oh, I didn't see that happen. My bad. How did we get here? Well, did you ever think that was the problem?
I know. And that's the thing. Like, we are doing the work. We're showing up. And there's so many people in our generations who are doing the exact same thing, and they're showing up in their ways and figuring out, okay, I've got to step up. And then we do have to understand there's a certain amount of people who are like, you know what? All I can do is ensure that I get enough food on the table, enough ramen noodles in the pantry, and I'm able to pay those bills, and I'm working hard, and I know that you guys are going to work on my behalf and get me a ride to the polls, and I can do that. And then there are other people who have completely checked out and they have no good reason for it, but when they finally realize, eventually we're going to be like, okay, dude, you screwed up. Now come on, load onto the back of this truck and we're going to head on to doing something better.
Yep.
You know, like, there are so many people that are finally having their moment of clarity. It took them like 10 years to get here, but they are finally realizing they too can be part of this solution.
I think it's something about hitting around the age 35, 36 that there's something that just flips in the brain, especially women. By the time we hit age 40, we're just like, oh no, 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 no,
Right.
no, no, okay, no. Like, how do we fix this? And you have people like you who you've decided to run. You have people like me where, okay, instead I'm going to interview these people and give them a platform and see if I can't get them in touch with other candidates who actually have the same ideas as you. Make sure you guys are working together because for all I know, you don't know about this other person. But make sure that you guys know about each other so that way when you get into that position, when you're elected, if we have 5 new ones that I've helped get into position, fantastic, because here's what I'm going to do. I've already decided that we are going to continue talking throughout the course of your campaign, even if you don't make it at May 5th. Let's say for some reason you don't win your primary. I still want you on because here's the thing is you're not done. I know you're not done.
Right.
You have so many different plans. If you don't make it this way, you're going to figure out another way you're going to help people until 2 years rolls around. And next time we're going to knock it out of the park because you have a following. That's what I'm doing with somebody else. He's an independent in Arizona. He had to withdraw his ballot because they contested it and he didn't have enough funds to fight the ballot contesting of the signatures. So what he learned is he needs to actually have what he called a war chest. He goes, he wants to have about 150 saved up if he can for the next campaign, so that way if he gets challenged, he can fight it. And then I told him, I said, and then what we'll do is we'll make sure you get at least 1,000 more signatures than what you need. If not more than that, let's get double, if not triple. Let's get you so many they cannot fight it, so you don't want to have to worry about the contesting. Let's do that. That's the goal. Is we don't get you this time, we get you into the position next time. Why? Because you're not done. You're not done. And if you do, great. Let's get you out there until November 3rd. And then afterwards, let's say you do get it. Every few months, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk. We're going to make sure that you are holding to everything you told me in the audience you are going to do. And if not, I'm going to be in your face going, why aren't you doing the thing? Come on, do the thing. I'll show up to a meeting being like, why are you not doing the thing?
Yeah.
Why? Well, guess what? Government accountability is huge. That is something I've heard from every person in every state. The constituents want government accountability. So how do we hold the government accountable? Well, we start by holding the representatives we voted for accountable. We start by having conversations with them asking, are you doing the things you said you were going to do? Or why are you not doing the things you said you were going to do? What is your plan? Why are you not supporting us? Like you said, was this all just talk? Like, I will call you out on it. Why? Because if I call you out on your BS and you have BS and you're not holding yourself accountable, well, then how am I going to expect you to hold anybody else in Congress accountable? Because if you're not holding yourself accountable and I'm not holding you accountable, how can you do anything for anybody else?
Right.
So
And
go ahead.
that's like what we have to do. And I think one of the parts of this for me is getting the information out because, you know, I knock on so many doors where one, they might be interested in politics, but they're just interested in federal politics because everybody knows federal politics, but they do not know state. And they don't know. I mean, like the majority of people,
So much more important.
yes, but the majority of people probably don't know who their state representative is. And if they were asked, what are 5 things that a state representative can do, they would have no idea. And that is intentional. And so also, if I'm not elected, it needs to be calling out and continually call out our representatives and letting people know what those representatives do. Because in this last session, our representative, my representative, voted for things that are unconscionable that he should have been called out on the mat every weekend about for things that he voted for. And he'll vote again next session if I am not voted in. And you know, this is a district where it's so easy to vote straight party ticket and to vote your identity and not your beliefs. And so if you're just voting straight party ticket Republican, then you are going to continue to get what you get. And we've got to start saying, hey, you know, like this is not, utilities are not a mayor issue. This is, utilities is a state issue, and this is why, and this is how, and letting people have that information. So, and calling and let people know, you know, so yeah.
Yep.
And
Kayla wants to know if you know Blythe.
yeah,
Blythe
I know.
Potter.
Yeah. Blythe and I go to a lot of events together. And she's great. She's great. I like her a lot. Yep.
Yeah, I've interviewed Michael, so her husband, and he's running for District 38. And then I have her on the 3rd of May. And then on May 11th, I actually have Michael Potter back on.
Awesome. Love that.
So I love it too. This is my May. My May is booked. Like I have 6 days that don't have something on it, and that's going to be done like by the end of this week.
Yeah.
She is. And I've seen her, she's been on some of Ethan's streams, you know, they've been doing town halls together. So I've watched and I love it. Everybody so far that I have seen and I've talked to for Indiana has been fantastic. There was one gentleman who I messaged him, he's running on the Senate level, and his response to me was, the time to do this was not worth it for the 2 measly votes he might get. He would rather knock on doors because he'd make a bigger impact. And I said, okay, well, I was really hoping to interview you because I actually had 3 people in your district tell me about you, about how you knocked on their door. And they were super excited. They wanted me to talk to you because they were going to be here. And then you said that to me and I forwarded it to them, of course. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he just lost 25 votes with that statement because they are telling their friends who they told to vote for him not to vote for him because he's two-faced. He said one thing to their face, and then when he immediately behind closed doors to somebody who was just inviting him, it was the same exact message I sent you. Hey, I would like to have you on. Would you be interested? And instead of saying thank you, but no thank you, he was in douche canoe about it. And I was like, you know, that was unneeded. It was uncalled for. You could have just not responded if you didn't want to do it. You didn't have to tell me that. You helped to create this medium 20 plus years ago. And you learned from all the time you spent investing in it that it wasn't worth it for the 2 measly votes. Okay, cool. Cool.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, that does remind me of, I have somebody who's working on my campaign and said that the person I'm running against went up to him, started talking to him. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then he asked where he lived. And he said where he lived. And that person said, not in my district, turn around and walked away.
Yep.
It's the same type of thing. It's like, my goodness, we're all in this together. It's not the district, like across the street means nothing. It's like all these people are part of our community. And so why
Yep.
would it not just be, you would want to learn about anybody
I
who's
guess getting a gun isn't something I'll
so, yeah.
Yeah, and Kayla's saying politics is Mean Girls Club. Her state is a shit show. You're not wrong. It is a boys' club, and it is hard to get in if you're a girl to begin with. If you're a girl, then it is a Mean Girls Club. You got to be mean and nasty. And it's like, but no, you shouldn't have to be, underhanded and conniving and vicious in order to make it in politics. Quite the
That's
opposite.
one way to get
You
away,
should lead with
Jackson.
kindness and compassion to make sure that the people in your communities are taken care of. And one thing that gets me, and this is the reason why it's like,
Certainly
I don't
is
care
one way to get
what
away from.
part of Indiana you're in. I know people in every district in the state. Say yes, because I promise you, those who you, if you say no to me, oh no, this dude was in your district. You're the one that told me about him. This is the response. Why? Because half of my mods live in my state. I have one that lives up in northern Indiana, up by Michigan. She's like 20 minutes from the border. It's a 2.5 hour drive for me. Just because she's 2.5 hours from me does not mean that she's not up there and she's not in a district that might be yours. Guess what? She knows 20 people in that district. She lives in that district. She works with people in that district. And each one of those people knows 20 people. And all I have to do is tell one person that you were nasty to me, and they will make sure that everybody knows that behind closed doors, you're nasty.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to deal with somebody who is nice to their face and behind closed doors, nasty. Nobody wants that. We want authenticity. We want people who are authentic and real, who are truly doing this for the right reasons, not people who are playing us. And we know when we're getting played because, say, if they're nice to you and mean to me just because I'm not in their district or I'm not local enough for them, that's very showing and telling of their character. It is very showing and telling of their character. Because all they had to do was say, thank you, but no thank you. Quite the opposite. I have people who are not in my state who were, I had one guy, he lost his primary, and he asked, do you still want me on? I said, yes, I do. I want to talk about your campaign. I want to talk about your next steps. His goal actually is to write a book about what he learned during the last year of his campaign and have it out before November 3rd, before the general election, in order to help the next group of people who are going to run for office.
Yeah.
Bet, I love that. Please tell me more about it. Tell me the name. We'll have you on. Tell us all about it, because I want to make sure that once you publish it, everybody knows about it. Why? Hey guys, more tools, more reference documents, more things we can learn from. Let's help educate each other instead of keeping each other ignorant. Why would we want to hold the knowledge to ourselves when knowledge is power? Because you want to be the only one in power? Well, guess what, my friend? Somebody else is eventually going to figure out that knowledge too. And then all it's going to show is you're a gatekeeper and nobody's going to want to support you. Quite the opposite. Be the person who shares the knowledge freely, and everybody will surround you going, that person knows their shit. They research and they tell us, go here, go here, go here. You can find the exact information I'm referencing in those areas. Why? Because they want us to learn. They want us to know. They want us to succeed. Why would we not want people like that in office? I would. And those are the people who truly leave with kindness and compassion. How do you know that? Because they're the people where I lost this time, but I'm coming back again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go even stronger. I know what to do this time. And I already have 1,000 people who are going to vote for me, because all I have to do is tell them, hey, I'm running again. Can I count on you?
Okay.
Same policies. We're going even harder this time. If you can volunteer and help support, volunteer, help support. Because here's the thing is, they already have a group of people they can stand on who are going to help raise them up, including me. Why? Because I want to make sure all of you succeed. I want to make sure Sally succeeds. I want to make sure Michael succeeds. I want to make sure Blythe succeeds. I want to make sure Christopher succeeds. I want to make sure, Jen out of North Carolina succeeds. I want to make sure you guys succeed, because I see the passion and drive, the passion you have for helping the people around you. It's inspiring. And that's what I'm hoping we do, is we inspire everybody else to act. Because there's a few things. It's once the first shot is shot, the second bullet will always come. All it takes is one voice to spark a revolution. So let's do a revolution. There's so many idioms in our world where they talk about all it takes is one person to stand up. Quite literally, I hear people say, it's too late. It's never too late as long as there's one person willing to stand back up and fight. So if I'm raising my flag and saying, I'm still here to fight, why are you not standing back up? And if I'm faltered, help me back up. Raise your flag and say, I'm here by you. I got you while you take the time to recover, and you can lead us again. We take turns taking that first shot and being each other's support. That's how we grow. That's how we succeed. I want to make sure everybody going into office has allies when they get there, whether it's on the state level or the federal level, because that's the only way we win is we form allies going into it. We know the 5 people going into it we can work with on this topic, and then we get everybody else on board, because now there's 6 of us talking hardcore about this one thing. It's hard to ignore 6 people when they're talking about the same thing. It's easy to ignore one person, but it's hard to ignore the masses. It's easy to ignore one voice, but it's hard to ignore 1,000 voices screaming the same thing. It's hard to ignore 1,000,000 voices screaming the same thing. It's hard to ignore 10 million voices on the No Kings protest screaming the same thing. It's hard to ignore it. When the more we have banding together, the harder it is to ignore us. That we know this. We have proven it. It's why they want to keep us divided. Time and again, we think back to the Martin Luther King protests, think back to Rosa Parks, think back to all the times we've stood our ground as a group, and they have given in because they have realized as a group, we will always win.
Right. Exactly. So that's what we have to keep on doing now. So,
to be educated about what's going on. Women are leading this revolution, and you're not wrong. You know, and I know Sally is right there helping to lead the charge.
Yeah. I have to go. Is it okay? Yeah.
No, that's fine. Like I said, I can talk your ear off. We have so much more to talk about. Like, I've been making notes. I cannot wait. So what I'll ask of you is go ahead and shoot me a text message with the best email to send this video to. Once I have it downloaded on the computer, I'll email it over to you, and then we'll get you scheduled for a follow-up. I want to talk to you after your primary, find out what happened, find out next steps, regardless of what they are. Talk more about, you know, how BlackRock is got its tendrils everywhere, because it doesn't matter if it's the state or federal level, it doesn't matter what state you're in. That is a conversation we need to have for everybody across the board because it's important.
Yes, absolutely.
So yes.
And I will text. Today is my daughter's, she's a senior, and it's her prom. And I need to go take pictures of her before I have to go to an event later on tonight. So it's like the mama hat and the campaigner hat.
Oh, I get it. It's like it's one off, other on. Okay, I got to take this one. Okay, I need like 4 more arms because I have 6 hats that I have to interchange, and I keep throwing one up in the air hoping it doesn't hit the ground.
Right. All right.
But no, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope your daughter's prom is wonderful. We will touch base and we'll get you rescheduled, and I will have you back on and we'll talk more.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you.
Much love. Thank you so much for taking the time and having a conversation with me.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that was Sally Busby, and I know I'm being a little loud. She is running in Indiana. She is running for District 78. That is the state level, so it is the Indiana House of Representatives. Her primary is on May 5th. If you are registered in Indiana, if you live in Indiana, please, please, please go out to vote for the primaries that are happening over the course of this month. If you're not sure when the primary for your district is, please look up your district. It's very simple. All you have to do is, what district do I live in, and plug in the state, and it will give you a graph of what district it is, and just figure out where you live, where your county or city is. And then you can go from there to ballotpedia.com and find out who's running in that district and what the date the primaries are, so you can make sure to go out and vote. Her primary is May 5th, so if you live in District 78 in Indiana, please go out and vote for Sally. She is awesome. Vote411.org is a great source. I'm writing that down. Thank you. Vote411.org. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kayla. Thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out and joining the conversation. I greatly appreciate all of you. I will be back tomorrow. We will have Chris Williams on. He is running in Iowa. He is running for their Congressional District 8. That is on the federal level. We will be interviewing him at 4 p.m. That is Eastern Standard Time, just in case you want to know. Anyways, much love, everybody. I will catch you later. Bye.